Good morning, everybody. It's a great pleasure to be part of this gender sensitization program organized by Prakashini at English Department of Mercy College in association with OISCA International Women's Chapter. So nice to see you all and have some sharing of thoughts. I'm thankful to the organizers for the invitation because it's a great ambition also in my life to discuss more about gender issues and share thoughts and discuss more on women's discrimination that are faced by women in our society, to make some kind of social change as part of our action in a way. I mean, from each and everybody's action, it will make some kind of change, maybe. Let's hope so. So what I'm trying to talk about today is on this topic called gender equality in praxis. So gender equality, gender is a familiar term, I think, for us nowadays. Maybe this term is used everywhere nowadays, not only in academia, but also in our everyday discussions. We use the term gender. But what do we understand by this term gender? We talk about gender equality, inequality, etc. So what is this term gender? This we have to be very clear, I think. It is a kind of conceptualization. It is a kind of tool that we are applying to understand the issues of discrimination between man and woman due to the concepts of masculinity and femininity. So we have these different kinds of social norms and concepts towards how a woman should be, how a man should be behaving, looking, etc., etc. So I have some little bit of points written in the slide. Probably you can also read in between. I'll be explaining these points, what I'm trying to talk about. So I think first attempt is to be clearing the term gender itself. So we can understand gender as a term introduced by feminist theorization. We have to say that. Feminism is a kind of theory and also a movement actually. So this movement later on which also ended up in theorizing particularly, and nowadays we have it in our academia also, that we are studying some particular topics in some schools and colleges and universities called gender studies, women's studies, etc. Maybe you might have heard of it. Probably in future, if you are interested, you can study that. Only a few departments we have in Kerala. One department actually, Calcutta University, there is a department. Otherwise, of course, we can do research in it. In whatever subject we are, English or any language or social science, even natural science, people can do some interlinked gender studies within their subject preferred. So, first when we try to understand these terms, gender is actually a theoretical tool, we can say. It's a theory. Also, it's a practice. That's why we are having the term praxis. Praxis is also another term which is nowadays very much familiar, very much prevalent in our academic arena, that to denote this particular point, that we do not be, we have to be, we are not actually supposed to just talk about theory and concepts that women's issues, etc. But we have to make it into practice. We have to practice these concepts, what we are talking about in our everyday life, to make a change, of course. And we may be saying that, okay, there are issues for women. They are having a subordinated status only. They are having some kind of suppressed situation in their personal as well as social life. So this suppressed situation, how it came into existence, etc., if we think about that, we can see some history of feminist movement, of course. Feminist women who claimed themselves as feminists, who took risks in life to break the social norms, what are suppressing them. So breaking the social norms which are anti-woman and taking the autonomy to live the life in their own way. Some women did like that. It happened as a movement, particularly in the United States. Maybe you have to know, we have to be very clear about it. So this movement, what happened in 1850s, which started in 1850s actually. Now maybe more than a century, 1.5 century we can say to see so. The particular point where it began in the United States as a first wave feminism. And then there are other waves also, second wave feminism, third wave feminism. Now it's a historical juncture where we have finished third wave feminism actually. Maybe you have studied this First World War and Second World War, etc. in 1914, 1935. So there was a gap in between in the Western societies to discuss these issues of women's rights, etc. You can even see even before 1850s, 1700s, at the end of 1700, during the time of French Revolution and all, Mary Wollstonecraft, a feminist writer, had written about the vindication of rights of women, like a book like that. So there were women who were writing books and who were making activism, actions to end this situation, suppressed situation of women. Maybe all women wouldn't really identify this issue, that they are having this discriminated status, etc. Because we are so much, into this flow where we have no sense left behind to identify this issue that this is a discrimination or that is a discrimination. We will take it for granted. For example, if somebody teases, and boys are teasing girls, for example, or maybe girls are not allowed to go in the evening, late evening. So these things we have taken for granted, that this is okay, this is the way it is. Girls are like that, girls' lives are. So it is not like that. We have to identify these issues and question and break, etc. To make a change in it. So this is happening with a social organization. For people who have not identified, and also many different things, not only the issues of girls. I'm talking about that because there are many girls here. Also, if one woman is there, in the life, what all things are there which are making them like secondary. Once they go into the family life, once they go into work outside, and just to travel or anything, just to see a movie. Is that possible to see a movie for a girl or woman alone in a theatre here in Kerala? Can you imagine? It's impossible. So nowadays little better, I think, but still I don't think women are going like that because it's a man's place. And can you just go and stand in a public place simply one girl alone? No, if it's in a group, better. Even that is not very much, common in our society nowadays. But some changes are happening in 20, 30 years nowadays. Some changes are happening. So what I'm trying to say is that when we have this term praxis about a theory, I hope we are familiar with this term as a theory, gender. So this is actually not like other theories. gender theories are actually coming out of the practice only, of the praxis only, from the action only. So, unlike other social theories, there are various sociological, philosophical theories, and also if you are studying fiction, in the fiction we have many theories of human life. We have many theories of human life we get from stories, right? So, okay, that life is like that, life is like this, etc. No? So these theories are actually coming from action. So feminist women who gathered for some or other programs, who organized protests and public programs to assert and demand their rights, they were starting to theorize, write theories. This is a particular theory. It was not actually accepted that it as a theory. The gender theory, what is that? Like that in academia, nobody really accepted feminist theory, etc. But now it is actually in a kind of accepted mode of academic field. It has become like an academic field. So we have to do it in the other way, like now learn the theories what are prepared by the earlier feminists, and then make our ideas clear, make our issues, make the reasons of our issues clear in our own mind, and then act. That is also possible. So, in gender theories are actually some kind of social theories which came from the action first. So theory to turning from practice to theory, theory to practice. These kind of issues are not much relevant. It is of course relevant, at the same time it's not the basic problem actually. It will come vice versa, in practice and in theory, like that, etc. So, when we have this clarity about these terms, we can actually just think about this, how women organized, what all things they demanded. For example, I was talking about first wave feminism. There was in New York one conference in which they were first demanding, the first wave feminists were first demanding for voting right. Women didn't have the right for voting. It was only in the beginning of 1900s, after the parliamentary system came up, women got. So the parliamentary system was initiated by the men. It is all whatever we see as powerful systems are all basically initiated by men. So women were given voting rights later on when they protested, when they demanded. So they were first wave feminists who wanted citizen rights through voting right, etc. And second wave feminism, after 100 years almost, came up in 1950s. After 1945, the Second World War impact, etc. It came. It is that time one famous book came, The Second Sex, by a feminist philosopher named Simone de Beauvoir, a French philosopher actually. She is a philosopher basically, but she wrote this book called The Second Sex, in which there is a famous quote that we are talking about. One is not born, but becomes a woman. You are familiar, I think. Yeah. So it's what is this entity called a woman, category called a woman? Are we really being born as a woman? No. Human beings are born like two different types of bodies. That's all. Then later on they are called as woman, made as typically woman, man, like that, by ascribing, imposing the socially accepted, some fixed, decided, defined some kind of femininity features and masculinity features. This is how people become. That's why we have this kind of saying, oh, you girls should do this, girls should not do this, boys should do this, etc. We are very familiar, no? Every day we will be. So when we become mothers also we will be telling that, no, We shouldn't be, actually. So if people are becoming conscious in that way, there will be a change, I guess. But it's very difficult also if we are making such a bold girl, very difficult to survive in this society because this society is terrible. So we cannot practice our freedom here. If you have extreme freedom, we will think, okay, we will get confused again what to do with this freedom in this society. So that is another issue. So the society should also grow, but it will grow only through the elements of this society, individuals, and the individual institutions. Individual institutions, including the basic institution called family. So these are all institutions: school, college, church, or temple, or family, etc. All are conceived as a theoretically institutions. It's not some such a given space. It's not there from the beginning of human being. You may be familiar, you might have studied that, like barbaric era. People didn't have any kind of family or any particular these kinds of institutions. It all came through the civilizations. It all came through the civilization. When the society developed, all these kinds of schools and colleges and families, all these things developed. So, at one point, some or other point of historical juncture, this started like a hierarchically ordered system, institutions, where women were suppressed. Men took the advantage, autonomy, etc. So at whatever may be that historical juncture, now if we look at our recent decades, recent past, it's very, very much rooted in our society that we cannot change at all this kind of situation. So it is a great struggle to make this change, actually. So we have to organize, we have to speak out for our rights, for the women's rights. So this was actually, in second wave feminism, feminist women were talking about the right for education. Women didn't have rights for education, right for working, employment, right for self-chosen marriage, right for divorce if wanted, right for abortion if wanted, right for free movement, traveling, etc., right for dressing, in whatever way they like, etc. So all these kinds of rights were demanded in second wave feminism, and in third wave feminism we can see this theorization of gender. They will say that gender, it is there, we have this theory actually, but before that also it was in practice, of course, because women said, this is not a femininity thing, I cannot follow this kind of thing as a femininity. Why you should ask that I should grow hair like this? Why should ask that, okay, I should not wear that kind of jeans, like trousers, etc. So girls ask this at homes, maybe you know. So we all ask. Even 20 years ago, we also asked. Even before that, maybe not, because jeans or trousers were not very much available there, even for men. Only Muttu was there, right? So maybe not that time. But when it changed, the facilities, developments happened, then according to that, our concept also will change, our practice also will change. But all point of time, there would be some kind of trouble, some kind of trouble due to this control imposed on the girls, women in our society by the men, we will think. Feminists were always actually earlier saying that it was by men. But in the third wave feminism and after, we are also, through the term called gender, we are also problematizing men and their masculinity too. So this masculinity with which they are being such powerful people, with thinking that themselves as the authority of all these female beings, this is also happening because of these social norms which are ascribed, imposed, installed in the male bodies, boy bodies. So the boys are becoming like that because they are trained to be like that. So this training is what is the problem that we are having from our society, family, everywhere, college, school, college, wherever. With all social organizing institutions, we are having this kind of a particular training. For example, we are, so gender is actually problematizing the femininity and masculinity, in which we conceptualize some or other kind of mental mindset or temperament for man and woman. What are they? We are very familiar, shyness, care, or fear, these kinds of things are for women. Isn't it like that? And boldness, rough, very rational, etc. will be man. Woman, emotional. Man, rational. Woman, passive. Man, active. Woman, shy. Man, bold, courageous. This way, this is the gender concepts, what we have in our society. So these concepts, how we can change, that's what we have to take up and do practice in our life to make a change in these kinds of concepts which we are ascribing on the girls and boys, men and women, like that. So, and not only these mental features, also the roles. The roles are being ascribed. Women. What women will do? Cooking, cleaning, washing, so on and so forth. What men will do? Maybe driving around, shopping, traveling, and etc. So these are very clear. No, this is what is gender. So these are the gender concepts with which we have this gender inequality. So to make the gender equality, what we have to do? We have to change these whole things. Maybe men cook, wash, clean, and women travel around. Why not? Women can also do that. Men can also do that if they are trained to do that. If they want to do that. Not only training, other people training is not that just like that. If you want to do, a man can really learn and do well. Look at the hotels, look at the marriage parties or whatever parties. Who are cooking? Men are cooking. The best cooks. But women are only at home. This is what feminists will say, unpaid labor. Women have double labor. If they got the right to do the job, they have the double labor. That means labor at home, labor at outside in the institution, wherever they are working. So these kinds of topics were really brought into the social discussion by the feminists. By the feminist theorization, it was all written down. By the feminist movement, it was all spoken out in the society. So this change started happening. Even in the Western countries, it's like that only. It was not like always that the Western women are enjoying all kinds of freedom, etc. Even now, if you look at the families, particularly in this basic institution called family, in the Western countries also probably, or finally, eventually, all works are upon the women. This will come like that. So, we have to problematize, we have to question the basic everyday practices in the basic social institution called family and all other kinds of practices which are making women subordinate in our society. So, when we discuss these things of femininity and masculinity in terms of this term called gender and gender theorization, one term, when it came into this discussion of femininity and masculinity, which are both are ascribed to this male body and female body, theory was actually that it is a social construction. It is not basically there that men can always be breadwinner, woman caretaker, that kind of a thing comes up. What all features are there? Men can also cry. Men also want to cry actually. Boys also will cry in childhood, no? all people will cry if anything issues are there. I mean, then they cannot cry. And then women should cry. If a woman is not crying, oh, what kind of a woman is this? Like that question will be there. Is that a woman at all? Whatever happens, she will not cry. Like that people will say. So her femininity is questioned there. So these kinds of issues are problematized and these and theorized like with a term called patriarchy. Patriarchy is our social system. This is a social system where power is all there on top of women. I mean men. That's why men are becoming like such creatures who will always rule the women, control the women. So men are the authority for everything, like that. Women have no autonomy, no authority. So this is coming through this kind of a social system which is patriarchal, which developed through the centuries, to say so, through the social development, cultural development, through the development of civilizations, to say so. So we have to actually question the civilizations where women are made into a secondary position. So all in personal and social aspects we have to see these things. So when we think about this process with which this masculinizing and feminizing happening, we have to see as language students, I should definitely mention that the role of language, it's another theory actually. In philosophy there is an area called philosophy of language, which would say that the ultimate reality, what exists, is only language. Everything is made up of language. Everything is constructed. When third wave feminists are talking about social construction of gender, which is incorporated with postmodern theories and also language philosophy, etc., we can make clarity about this concept in this way, that we make use of language. Language was there, not there in the beginning. Human beings created language. But this language became very much patriarchal, very much male-centered. So this language use is what actually making this masculinity and femininity possible in the way they want. Who want? The patriarchal society, the proponents of patriarchal society would want. Okay, so it is very clear, isn't it? Like, only if you are using language like you are a girl, you should not do this like that. This is through a language what we are making this femininity. Otherwise, how do the girls know that they should be like this or that? They can be like that way they feel like. They feel like, according to their choice, they may do anything. But there are many languages applied to make them controlled, or to make them feminized, or to make also the boys masculinized. So the role of language is very, very important, and this is how one French philosopher, Foucault, would say that discourse is what creating is or constructing the social concepts, the social practices, etc. So like masculinity, and this is being applied by a feminist philosopher called Judith Butler. Judith Butler would talk about this as, the language, when a girl, Butler would say, when a girl or a boy is born, when a child is born, our first question, what child, boy or girl? It's a girl, it's a boy. Like that they are fixing their future, how they should be. So it's the language first, and then continuously there are very many kind of prescriptions in language that they are doing. If there is no language, can we do this much? No, we cannot. We cannot do without a language this much harm to the society to make people that much civilized and masculine. So what we had to do, we had to use this language itself as a weapon to change this situation. So we have to use our language as a weapon to attain our gender equality and to redefine the concepts of femininity and masculinity attached to the female bodies and male bodies, and to create another kind of concepts in where human beings will have the freedom, all human beings, no matter man or woman or any other gender, whatever, freedom to be autonomous with their own choices. So, another point also, I will conclude with that point. Another point also that we have to note when we try to bring it into practice, our concepts of gender equality. We have to be very conscious about the issues of intersectionality. In theoretical manner, we will talk about it as intersectionality. That means, there are women's problems. There are some problems, many problems. So when we say that there are problems for women, which women are we looking at? The way we look at these feminist theories, the way we address the gender issues, we have to change a little bit. In the after the third wave feminism, feminist theorization would demand that we have to see the differences between the experiences of different women who are from different caste, different class, different religion, different race, different ethnicity, different regions, living in different regions, etc. It will be different. For example, a problem faced by a woman in one particular caste is not the same as a problem faced by another caste probably. There are issues there or religion related. You can imagine what it is. So there are different life situations and social situations, personal and social, which are to be taken into consideration while we discuss the issues of women. So then only we can perfectly reach to this kind of gender equality for all women who are from different ranks of social life, different areas of different areas. Regionally also there are differences. For example, a issue faced by a woman in India is not same as an issue faced by a woman in Europe. There are also problems in Europe for women. There are problems, maybe America or wherever. Or what maybe issues faced by inequality, gender equality issues faced by a woman in Kerala will not be the same as a woman in Delhi, probably, even within one country. So regionally also, because in cities people have a little more freedom, but not in a place like rural state like Kerala. In Kerala we do not have metro cities. Maybe in Ernakulam maybe a little bit different, but in Palakkad here is different. It may be different. So in rural areas and towns, these kinds of differences also maybe if you think about walking around, little more free in town. There are not much people who are coming, known to us, who will come to, where are you going, what are you doing here, how long have you been standing here, etc. It is, you can imagine what I mean by this. So the issue of intersectionality is a theoretical aspect also brought in recent feminist theorization, gender theorization, to address the varied experiences of inequality, so that we have to think through various levels to understand the issue of gender inequality, and we have to practice ourselves, train ourselves. We have to practice for looking at these issues in a different way, to solve these issues in one way or other. And gender equality maybe probably in few centuries, maybe in few decades, let us hope at least few decades we can make some more changes. In last few decades we have had some changes, and maybe in later, after some decades we will see some other changes. We may be a little more free. So these aspects are still to be spoken out in our society more and more by more women in various ways to attain our gender equality in a perfect manner. So I will conclude here. I hope some points I have covered, and if you have some more questions or anything, maybe we can talk more. Thank you. Yeah.
So, as you said, we have already discussed about the femininity and masculinity. So, in India, we have recognized another gender, apart from male and female, that is transgender. So, what about them? Shouldn't we include them to this kind of discussion?
I stand here. Definitely. I think I mentioned in between male or female or any other gender. Because of time, lack of time, I didn't want to extend the discussion into that also. But of course, we have to. It's a lot of discussions happening nowadays in our society, especially when we try to understand Judith Butler. Butler's theory is actually taking us towards this. Otherwise, also in our surroundings, we have had many discussions through the movement of LGBTQI+. So it is about there can be various types of bodies on which only particular binary oppositional kind of genders are being installed, according to Butlerian perspective also. Otherwise also we know that it is what's happening. One can only be a man or a woman with some particular features of femininity and masculinity that we have to definitely try to make it perfect also. That's the problem where we have to address this. And also, of course, there are really different categories of genders which we have to see, take it into consideration and make it more visible in discussion and to have a better situation for their lives. Yeah.
So my question is, when we usually discuss about gender equality, we tend to keep equality of men as a touchstone, and we talk about how women should be equal as a man in our society. So don't you think that would act as an additional point to the man's superiority?
Yes, that's why we are saying our role model or our aim is not to be as them, the male. We are not equating in that way. We are trying to. Earlier feminist movement did like that actually, but still, because when they are saying that we have to have this suffrage movement, when we have to have voting rights, that it's like men have the voting rights, so we should have that same. That way we used to discuss like that. But it's not the way it is. It shouldn't be the way it is. We have to, when we reach to the peak level of detailed discussion of Butler theory of performativity and you know, this heterosexual matrix, etc. Generally, we can reach a ultimate level of discussion about human freedom. It's only about human freedom. All human beings should have whatever freedom they want, and they should be able to choose and identify, think on their own. Are people able to think on their own here in our society? All the thoughts and feelings are directed towards the social norm, through the social norm, towards the heterosexual heteronormativity, and thus typical patriarchal concepts. So, patriarchal system, so that we should take it into a different direction. That's why finally I was saying we have to take it into a different direction. Feminist theorization has reached into that level, and it going on this way.
Okay, thank you. Mine is not just a question, I need a clarification on the topic role of language in social construction of women. Like you said, the concept of Ugo, the discourse creates a social construct. Isn't it like a question like of which came first, the egg or the chicken? I mean, we created the language, so it's our thoughts that is propagated through language. So is it the language that creates the social construct or vice versa?
Vice versa. It happens both ways. But first, if we think about it in depth, we have to say that first human beings created language. Then that language became like a male-centered, misogynist, whatever, in all these ways, patriarchal, etc., etc. So then this language creates the gender equality or gender inequality. So historically it comes like this way and that way,
So isn't it better to say that it propagates that idea, it propagates that concept, the language propagates that concept of misogyny rather than creating it. And it's not constructing it, we are propagating an idea through language and not in.
This, theoretically speaking, we have the theory of social construction by some feminist theorization. That's why we are using that term construction, social construction. We can also say that propagating. It's a simpler way of saying it. But theoretically, it is a construction actually. We are not only propagating, something is being created and then being propagated. Not only propagated, no, definitely not. Yeah.
Hello, I am Rishabha from Siddharth. So my question is, nowadays the term feminism is more or less misinterpreted. That is, many women are misusing the ideology of feminism. And there are some women who claim themselves as a feminist, and they are just the opposite. Like I have personally witnessed it.
Yeah.
Like many girls talking about feminism at its peak, and they are practically just the vice versa, opposite. So, what's your personal opinion or your stand on this scenario?
Such scenario is there, of course. People are misusing. That's why in the beginning also I wanted to say gender, feminism, etc. Such issues also, women's issues also, are being used by many people. Different groups, different people. Nowadays the issues are being taken up. Some rape happens, different things are happening. All groups are reacting, etc. They are doing, but what they are doing in their personal life, that we do not know. We are not very sure. And only few, maybe 5% or 10%, I'm not sure. I was thinking maybe 1 or 2% of this whole population would be practicing it in their own life. Whether all people who are studying the gender theories and women studies, gender studies courses nowadays, are they actually fully doing it all? And there are problems in our life. There are situations where we cannot do anything. We can probably withdraw, and withdrawing where to go. So these all things we have to be very much conscious about from the beginning. If students like you, I mean, in your age, we never got any such classes or any such any single person to discuss this. Actually, maybe at the age of 19 or 20, something like that, I heard about women's movement, women's group, etc. Some like that. I went there. Then only I got some people to discuss such things. Otherwise, there was no other party, no group, no. Within even friends or cousins like that, maybe probably girls are discussing such things, but very limited, very polished. So this polished talk, student.
The discussions are more, but practically it is not.
Practically, we cannot really blindly blame them who are like this, talking about it and doing something opposite. Probably some strategies, many different strategies are needed in our strong patriarchal society to survive. It's an issue of survival also would come up in these kinds of aspects. This is everyday life related theory, so very difficult. So probably they are I know, there are many women who identify all these issues, but still they are very good in typical conservative subordinated models. So this is actually the problem, that they can't take risk. They are not independent. One main thing, we have to be, all girls, all women should be independent financially, and that will give them autonomy. And whatever issue there in their personal life happens, this autonomy, this I realize sometimes recently, whatever may be there, I can see some many such cases also, including me, probably I can say. It is like that, otherwise, but still in some institutional level, women are educated women, they will be the topmost in the topmost chair, but still men will be ruling. They will just obey some other men who will tell them like that. When we have this panchayat election, etc., sometimes there was this discussion. Women from the houses of men will just decorate the chair like that, etc. So these things are there, but if there is some way women can do some changes. This situation is of course there. Contradictory situation is there.
Hello, ma'am. My name is Jayashree. I am a postgraduate student. I want to ask, in a time where even abortion laws are banned in the United States, a developed country, are we moving closer to the dystopian world constructed by Apple, the PER, or do we have a better hope for our future?
It's a question. Of course, we should have. Even though we feel very pathetic in mind, we should keep that, there is a hope. Otherwise, how can we move forward? Maybe we are in the middle of a lot of problems, but still what we will do, there is a hope like that, or the world will change one day. I will do for that. And if I do not do that, what will change? At least for personally or individually, people have to take risks, I would say. I think we have to come out of our intention to be so comfortable, so cared and protected, etc. We have to just be subverting. That's the term what Judith Butler would say. Subverting fighting the systemic subordination, inequalities, etc. The laws will come up and down. It will change even in India also. Sometimes anything can happen. Maybe now there is this law rule like anti-domestic violence rule and other things. Probably they can withdraw at any point of time because the power system is like that. So it is also about the question of power. The legal system, all these theories will say that all these institutions, legal system, education system, religious, caste, political, all systems are male-centered. Women are given chances. That's the way they see. If men do any work at home, they are helping the women, helping the wife or mother. It is not their duty. As if it is their duty. If you want to eat, you have to make your food. Like that kind of a custom should be in the houses. Then only it will change. In Western countries, such things are somewhat happening, but so that many people won't even go for marriage because once it is a marriage and family, sometimes gradually it will go into the other way around. Typically, the woman will have to, because when the children are there, what they can do, like that they'll start thinking. So some people even think that I don't want children because then we have to be very much caring, obliged. So it's all up to them. Women should be able to take such bold decisions, risking their own life too, actually. Of course, we have other ways of enjoying life. Why should it be only that perfectly leading and showing a family is the enjoyment or success? It's not anything like that. That's what I think. Personally also, there are theories in which we can discuss, family theories in which we can see this also. Feminist theorization has gone a lot into family theorization and various other social institutional theorizations. This loci of abortion, etc., will come in family, outside family also. So it's a bit complicated in a way to answer in one particular way. There are various issues of morals. Then there should be another issue about ethics, morals, etc. Ethics, of course, feminist ethics is there. But morals are, of course, patriarchally, social norm oriented thing that we do not need to take it into that much seriously. Though society is taking that only as seriously. Oh, what kind of morality, women, men wouldn't have any kind of issue if they do anything. So that kind of concept to be changed in the society, women will have to show otherwise. We have to be bold enough to show otherwise. Single life or a single mother, etc. These all things are in the Western countries accepted. Living without marriage, cohabitation. These all things are accepted. Even in India, it's all happening in a way. But very few number of people accept this thing. So it's a risk. Probably it may change. Many number of women will come forward living differently. I would say living their life differently. Unlike the typical model of family or social iconic model. That's it.
Greetings to all. So I think you all had a wonderful session, informative. I could understand from the questions that you were putting forward, because it's quite a vast topic. You can keep discussing on this for I think a day or more than or so, because I think ma'am, Maya, she covered up all the topics in fact needed for this as such. She started with like how actually gender sensitization starts with the birth itself. It's when you're born, you start saying, yeah, what child it is. So we say Anuti and all that. A girl baby or a boy baby, we start from there. And then we start with the dress of the girl, the pink you would have seen. Yes? So she started with the waves. She talked to you about the first wave, the second wave, the third and all that. I think now we are much away from all these because I should say some 10 years back if I had given them all a plain paper and asked them to sketch out a figure of a nurse, what's in your mind, or a pilot, or if I say a farmer, you would have had the compartments as Madam said. A nurse, you would have just shown a lady. A Florence Nightingale would come to your mind. Yes? And then you go to the pilots as such. You know what would have been. But today, I give you all a plain paper again and ask you to sketch out if the things would be different. I can see Kalpana Chawla. I can see many more men lining up for the nursing one. So I think it's all clear. We are into not the third wave, I think into a tsunami as such, and you are all the torch bearers for it. Because today, a man is just not brought in front of you for a marriage. A discussion goes on, and it's only after a third or a fourth or even a fifth session, the parents decide whether yes, the girl is to it or not. It was not so before. So don't you think there is a total change that's come up? I think you all agree with me. Say a yes or no? Yes. You're sure? There is an yes with that. Yes, I heard her asking, is there a hope? I said, yes. The hope comes from you all. Why are we all here today? To sensitize you all. You should stand up, girls. Like how Dr. Parvati ma'am, she said, you should be the glow, that worm, your worm. Got it? So it's all in your hand. And you should all raise up, speak out, be independent. And I don't think there should be anything. Nowadays we have even the third gender coming up now. And we hardly speak about these issues that she had raised the point. There's more of talking going on than discussions going on than what it is we come and speak about. But tomorrow you see something of this. I think you people should take it up. You should be a role model for the others. It's happening, and we are very happy that today you go to any of those, I'll just take a minute, any of the scan centers, a pregnant lady goes where they are said. They don't tell you the sex. It's not. Today they have banned it. I think we have moved it. I think we are moving on. As ma'am said, the first wave, that's for the voting, and then how they were fighting for the voting, second, third. Today you may not know the sex of what the child is. You know why it is also, I need not say so. Yeah, don't you think that's a big jump that has come up? Why should you want to know whether it is Adyate Kanmani Yana, you would have all heard of the song. Yes? And then the other one repeats and all that. So this is a subject very close to my heart also. So I thought I'll put in some words and I'm coming to my duty for today. We are very happy that we could address this college because we are the ones who are scholars for any program for OISCA that is to do with Prakashini. And on OISCA's behalf, I take this opportunity to thank Principal Madam Priscilla for giving us this opportunity to have this program in your college today. We are also thankful to the PG Department of English for arranging such a program because we feel we should reach out. And I think it is through you can have debates, discussions, and various other programs wherein you take up such issues in your conferences and other conventions that you have. I am thankful to Sridevi ma'am and also Sheena, your faculty members, for giving us all this opportunity to be here, and then all the hospitality shown to us. And our gratitude to Dr. Maya for accepting the invitation that we are given, and she's come from Trishur and delivered a wonderful and an informative speech for you all today. She's shown you all those slides and how far, like she's told you, motivated you to be independent. I think you got a certain, today some of you will go back and think about it as to if you wish to do a future plan to study on this and all. So you can take it up. And then my sincere thanks to Dr. Parvati ma'am, as